So now I invite Richard Bolivar for presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to talk about some strategies to expanding the profitability and the global competitiveness of the seed production industry and R&D in India. Oh, I need that click. Okay, so there's three simple options to increasing profitability. The first one is to increase the yield per plant and the quality of the seeds. The second one is to produce more difficult to grow crops that have a higher value. And the third one is to have a second planting season later in the year and keep more of the growth within India as opposed to having it move to other countries, particularly in the southern hemisphere. However, weather extremes and the seasonal changes in the weather is the number one constraint to exploiting any of those three options. The climate challenges change by the season. In the fall and winter, you can have late monsoon rains that delays transplanting. Excessive dew accumulation, which can cause foliar disease. Cold temperatures, which slow down growth, and obviously frost that can kill plants. Pretty basic, easy to understand constraints. The industry over the years has transitioned from open field to poly house, and now we can see a lot more net houses being constructed. And they've provided a nice barrier to insects and help moderate the environment. However, net houses are challenged because a late monsoon rain will cause the soil to become saturated, and you can't dry out the soil properly when you have net over top. Excessive dew accumulation occurs inside under the net, again, which will cause foliar disease and a very low transpiration rate, which will then cause nutritional deficiencies and vegetative growth. And I don't think anybody here sells leaves. And again, a net house does not protect you against frost. So the challenge is you've got perfect conditions outside through the fall and winter, but the net houses are creating a new set of challenges. In the summer, you shift to high radiation and heat, which is causing sunburn. The high radiation, heat, and low humidity causes excessive transpiration and water stress. And you can see that the structure of the plant changes as you move from spring to summer. It's still the same plant, but it changed its development because of the change in the climate. And then that high transpiration is causing high water stress, which is causing smaller fruits and increases the risk of disease and insect attack. Net houses cannot optimize plant temperatures or transpiration because they're static structures. And when people are in poly houses, they're difficult and expensive to cool, especially when the outside relative humidity is high. And so part of the challenge is if there's periods of time that you cannot manage the climate, you're out of control, your plants are going to change, the disease is going to become established, and you have to treat symptoms as opposed to prevent root cause. The monsoon is the most difficult season of all. Long periods of cloudy conditions with high humidity, making cooling greenhouses very difficult, and crops experiencing extremely low transpiration rates. Cloud, humidity, no sun, it's just really difficult when you're under plastic to make those plants lose water. And if you're growing outside, the extensive rains cause extensive soil wetness in the exposed soil. So you can see that each season has different climatic challenges. So every environment has advantages and disadvantages. So the key is to exploit the advantages of each and avoid the disadvantages. There's now over 75 different retractable solutions that have been developed over the last 40 years. So because we've been involved in the flower industry, the bedding plant industry, the cherry industry, the tomato, pepper, cucumber, strawberry, raspberry, blueberry, when you take those variety of crops and then you look at all the different climate zones around the world, you cannot have one solution that works everywhere. So which of the 75 models is appropriate for your situation depends on the type of crop you're growing. Is insect protection required? Is protection from rain required? And how much capital do you have available? So I'm just going to show you a really quick video for some of you that have never seen a retractable roof. And this thing's not, there we go. Oops. So this is the retractable flat roof. You can see it's a horizontal roof covering, which means it has a water porous roof covering, so the rain will pass through. But you can close 1 hectare with one motor in 6 minutes, and it uses only 3 kilowatt hours of electricity per hectare per day. So if you're in a pad and fan solution, you're using over 1,000 kilowatt, and here you're at 3. And the cooling roofs will give you about a 50% reduction in water usage. And here you can see a flat roof with a layer of insect net, so you're combining the technologies of a net house with climate optimization. And the cooling roof is stopping the heat before it gets to the net, which is now keeping it cooler inside. If you have to protect from rain, then a peaked roof house is required because you need to shed the water to a gutter system. And again, you can add insect net underneath if it's required. There's white cooling roofs and clear greenhouse roofs. So do I have a problem with too cold or do I have a problem with too hot? Will indicate which of the roof coverings is available. And you can do 1, 2, or 3 layers. So if you're in an RnD situation where you need more control, or you're in just a seed production or fruit production business where a single layer is all that's required. By adding a low pressure misting system, you can get evaporative cooling. So for the summer conditions, if you combine a cooling roof with a low pressure mist, you can drop your temperatures down from your 45 degrees and increase the relative humidity at the same time to keep the plant temperature optimal and the transpiration rate within the target range. So, in the spirit of watching the time, I'm just going to show you what I think are the top 6 models for your country. The first one is a motorized retractable net house, where you can close the net to have all the benefits of a net house, but by retracting the net, you can dry out the soil. If you have a high humidity and you've got a disease that you're fighting, you can break that cycle by letting the sun shine in for 1 hour, drying off the leaves to stop that cycle of reproduction. For crops that do not need insect protection, just a retractable flat roof cooling house is all that's required. And so what you're doing is you're combining the advantages of an open field by retracting the roof 100%, or by closing it part way, you're now reducing plant temperatures and transpiration, or by closing it 100%, you now have a greenhouse environment to keep the plants warmer. And by closing that plastic 100%, you will stop the fog from coming in or stop the dew from forming on the flowers or the leaves to help maintain your pollen or your keeping the leaves dry. You can combine a retractable flat roof cooling house with stationary insect net like you saw in the video. These pictures here are from Abu Dhabi, so that give you an idea of the climate, either high humidity and hot or low humidity. If you have a variety of crops and you want to use the house for multiple crops, you can actually have a retractable cooling roof with a retractable layer of insect net. So you can choose to have a net house or an open field or a cooling house simply by which layers you close. And again, if you're trying to grow through the monsoon time, or it's critical that you keep plants dry, you then look at a peaked roof house with either stationary, insect net, or retractable. And the last model is one that I just developed last year, which is an automatic retractable rain shelter. So many crops that have one harvest per year, a cherry, a grape, or even some of the berry crops where I just need to keep the plants dry for a period of the harvest, and for the rest, I just want them outside. And because you only have one harvest per year, there's a limit to how much you can invest. And so this was designed specifically to try to get the cost as low as possible in order to cover the widest variety of crops. And again, all these different roof systems would be controlled with a computer system with weather stations looking at light, humidity, wind, rain, temperature, obviously. Now, I made this comment during the opening ceremonies yesterday, and I had a couple of people come up and they said it kind of resonated with them. There's a difference between protected cultivation and climate optimization. And growers typically will have one major problem: the rain, or the summer heat, or dew. And so they want to solve this one problem. And extreme weather protections helps prevent sudden losses. So it could be a frost, it could be hail, or you can see here the tomato on the right, the air temperature is 36 and the fruit temperature is 41. This picture was taken just outside our demo center in Culiacan, Mexico. And when you start looking at plant temperatures, your world of understanding plants will change dramatically in compared to looking at air temperatures. And that's, I could go on for an hour about that, but that's for a different time. Climate optimization is different. Now, as I told you yesterday, I'm an economist by training, not a plant physiologist. But we knew that in order to understand the potential of what we were developing, we had to understand plant physiology and climate. And so I built a retractable roof research facility in Culiacan, Mexico, latitude 24, the same as indoor, but at sea level. And I took a variety of Derrida Roma 2180, tray of young plants, put them in the field, in a net house and a retractable roof on January the 20th. So that would be like doing a planting here on January the 20th. You guys are just about to finish your season, and we did a planting at that time. And then I took a plant from each environment and I put them side by side. And so what you have is the exact same genetics from the same tray of young plants on the exact same farm with the same water quality, grown in a field with no protection, under stationary net, which is constant protection, versus a retractable cooling roof. And so how do you explain the dramatic change in the plant development? People will say it's humidity, it's light, it's this, it's that. I believe we should be talking about the plant, not about the environment. So this plant changed because we optimized the transpiration rate, which optimized the water stress. And that caused a change in the number of fruit, the size of the leaves, the inner node was all connected because we were able to regulate the plant temperature and the transpiration rate and the resulting water stress. That's 2008. So this discovery, when I did this, I'm going, oh my God, what's going on? And so I spent probably 12 years doing research at our facilities, growing all these different crops. And I ended up writing a book summarizing my journey of what my key learnings are. And if anyone's interested in it, I'm not here to sell it. If you give your email address to Rajendra or Shashank at the booth, they will just email you a copy. I'm not interested in making money, I'm interested in sharing information. And it basically goes through looking at understanding the basics of how a retractable roof caused the plant to change, caused the fruit size, caused the shelf life to change. And so that was the start of our learning. From there, as we started to learn about all the different crops, we developed these 75 different solutions. And then I took our key learnings from all our clients and converted into a 10-step process for analyzing which of the 75 solutions is the best one for a given application. And I hope I stayed within my time.
Perfectly all right, yeah. So thanks, Richard, for the wonderful presentation and providing a solution for climate optimization for the different conditions. I'm sure a number of the participants will contact you for the more further details about this, maybe economic, this costing and the exact use. So thank you very much.